It is the year 2005. The treacherous Decepticons have conquered the Autobots' home planet of Cybertron. Cybertrons. Cybertrons. Cybertron. Cybertrons. 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 Cybertron.
We now return you to the Children of Primus.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everyone doing this evening?
Good. I have exactly one more photo to take, then I can give you my full attention. Exactly one more photo. But I got to remember how this goes in here.
I'm doing not too bad. How are you guys?
Ooh, it's hot here.
Oh, you're in Florida, so I just sort of assume that's the default state of affairs.
I picked up a big job this week, and I literally lost 5 pounds this week.
Yeah, so that should be the strategy to move to Florida. If you want to lose weight, that's where you go.
You're kidding me.
Just sweat it out.
Oh, Mr. Magnus, your mic's muted.
Sound wave.
Mm-hmm. He strikes again. I need to go find Blaster to get him going.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Blaster? Impactor, that's a dope t-shirt you have.
The Matrix.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Matrix
Rocking
with
that.
Autobot logo on it.
I saw that. That is
Nice.
really stellar. I'm loving
I
it.
like that.
Well, wait until you see what else I got, because all I have to spoil up here is I left it nicely in my area. Thanks to my wonderful mother, I will show you guys the 4-pack that I secured myself.
Oh, the one that the latest in the most people are trying to split this up 4-pack.
Oh yeah. What's the big one of the 4?
The big one's Tarn.
Like, is that the one that everyone's after, or?
Yeah, because if you miss the first shot at it, this repack's a good way to get one.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Along with Cliff Jumper.
Yeah, Transformers Prime Cliff Jumper. They made a new version of
Here he
him in that
is.
set.
This is the thing that's been grinding my gears to get.
So that's what took me a while to figure out. That's like a remold of the
Chase.
Rescue Bots Chase.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a really cool unreleased Tarantulas that they did, which
Yeah, it's his
I like the
prototype
most.
colors. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really digging that one.
Yeah. The only thing, and I guess like they needed this in order for the figure to exist, but the actual Tarantulas prototype was all in translucent orange, whereas this is like solid orange. But I'm like, you don't want to make a whole figure out of translucent plastic. That thing's going to break. So that's like an acceptable design compromise.
That thing would have to be labeled fragile, basically. I had to put it in.
Oh yeah, and then the fourth one, if I was going to get one, this would interest me the most is what is it? Squeeze Play, like a new version of G1 Squeeze Play, who's never gotten an update before.
And Squeeze Play, it took me so long to find even a G1 audio of her. I had to dig into the Titans Return stuff.
Yeah. And one of the nifty things about Squeeze Play is one of his accessories is a gun that's made to look like Browning.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
so-
cool.
like little 5mm Browning gun.
Oh, somebody's pizza pops are done.
Yeah.
That is funny. What James Coleman says, welcome, guys. Welcome back, Anthony.
Oh,
Hey,
hello.
James.
And
You're doing
also
well.
says, great shirt, Impactor.
Thank you.
Totally. Yeah. So, Impactor, did you see those shots of the Matrix from SDCC? Are you
Yeah.
into like a statue like that? Would you be into something like that?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. It's pretty gaudy, all gold.
Yep, that thing was sick.
I do like it. For me, those colors are for me. If I want a Matrix, I want a purple center, gold Matrix like that.
For me, I'd maybe make a Lego sign saying maybe Chaos Matrix.
What's the?
Since it's the purple insiding.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that?
Ooh.
Fans
that looks
Hobbies making a Metal Hawk.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. I love prototypes.
Yeah.
So now, just before we get into the news, we do have our guest Rick Reyes, who will be joining us at 8:30, and he's someone we met at TFCon Toronto a few weeks ago, and I know it's been a moment since we've gotten through news before, so we're going to do some news, do some reveals, and then get over to our guest for the evening. So what do you guys know about for the Metal Hawk prototype?
Well, it's by
Nothing.
Fans Hobby, which means it's probably going to be pretty good because the two Fans Hobby guys that I have, which are Stalker and Clench, that are retooled from Armada Optimus and Double Dealer, these are really good. Like, they're big, chunky, not too complicated, really different from a lot of third-party stuff. So if they're making a Metal Hawk, it's probably going to be a pretty good figure, just based on that pedigree, I think.
This is all I have in the masterpiece.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. B-movie Bumblebee. Yeah. I'm not much of a Masterpiece guy, but that one always tempted me because, you know, I like the Bumblebee movie, and that's like a good one-off thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's big.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and in other news, we also have Earthspark Deluxe Chaos, Terran Aftermath, and Jawbreaker, which are official stock images.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what's happening with the second season of that show, but now they have...
Now that is I'm going to buy.
Now they have evil Terrans, and they're just getting figures finally. So I understand there's a lot of cool, interesting designs there.
Cool. And James says Metal Hawks not too shabby, and Mr. Magnus will be joining us shortly. Just had to do an update on his headphones.
Yeah. You know what happened with the Earthspark TV show, according to Scuttlebutt? It's kind of unfortunate. So the second season is going to be the last one. It's only going to run for 2 seasons.
Okay.
And apparently what happened was they knew in advance, before the second season even started, that they were getting canceled. And then what happened was all of the writers from the first season jumped ship because they're like, well, we need to start getting other jobs because we know the show's not going to run past this season. We don't want to be unemployed. So apparently the second season is like terrible because it's like entirely a different writing team handling it. So it's kind of unfortunate.
But you know what? That happens sometimes on a few popular TV shows that will run multiple seasons. I can't name a show offhand, but say, you know, a show that's run 5 seasons. The first 2 are great seasons. Mm-hmm. At some point, some other production will come in and say, hey, you writers from season 1 and season 2, come join our team because we have a new show coming up. So then when season 3 comes out, you're like, this is really not the same show because someone just gave them more money and stole the writers, but essentially.
Yeah, it's funny because like this was like a self-fulfilling prophecy because because the second season turned out apparently really poorly because they left because they knew it was going to get canceled anyway.
May I also put in the head of whoever this is looks like Transformers Prime Dark Energon Knockout?
Yeah, kind of. Anyway, I understand that these Chaos Terrans are like, well, the Terrans are like a new generation of Transformers that are born on Earth, and then now apparently some of them are just born as evil babies, basically.
And this one's looks like I think this is the tow truck one.
Hey, Michael Mercy.
Oh, hello.
Michael Mercy, how's it going?
What's up?
And James Coleman says, "Good to have you back, Mr. Magnus."
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Hey, Verizon guy.
There was an update on the headset.
Oh, it's like
Just
when you
then.
need to go in for a Zoom meeting right now, and they're like, "We've chosen now to do all the updates."
And over here we have the Hot Wheels crossover Transformers diecast cars found at a U.S. retail.
Like, I'm not a Hot Wheels guy generally, but I'll buy that Bumblebee if I see it. Though I understand it might be kind of hard to come by.
Now seeing who's all here.
I've been seeing in the groups that a whole bunch of people are posting up that they got them and saying they just found them in the stores. So maybe it's going to be something you can easily find in stores.
I'll make sure to walk by the Hot Wheels part of the toy aisle next time I'm there. Basically, is what it amounts to.
I do question their choices on characters because there's 2007 Barricade and then 2000 AOE Crosshairs, Stinger and Drift, and then randomly a Volkswagen 2007 Bumblebee.
Yeah, Toy Warp already had a huge rant about how they have the molds to do all of the Stunticons. They're just not doing them for some reason. Like they have the right model cars and everything.
What's up to them?
You'd have loved that car show that I was at yesterday. I just shared some pictures with Spin on the on Messenger. There was an Evil Knievel exhibit.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, if Spin throws them up here, wait till you see some of this stuff. You'd have died.
Okay. I'm going to get to them.
And
But
they had a Schwinn bicycle collection in there, and I was like, I had that one right there, and I walked over to it, and they've got a $4,000 price tag on it. Ow. And I was like, you got to be kidding me! I had the Stingray that had the little 8-inch front wheel and the Springer front end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $4,000.
no, Mr. Magnus, I was going to say, I guess for those listening and also any of the younger people listening, who is Evil Knievel?
Yes,
Evil Knievel
in
was
late
a
80s.
stuntman back in the late 70s, early 80s, and he did all kinds of stuff. He jumped the Grand Canyon. He had these rocket-powered cars, and they were at the thing. Yeah, right here, the legendary jump. But yeah, he had a whole toy line. He was the Daredevil when we were kids. When Gen Xers were kids, if something crazy was going on, Evil Knievel was there doing it.
Yep. And his son followed in his footsteps.
That is correct.
But his son got to do it. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead.
Well, his son got to do it with obviously, later more technology advanced motorcycles, because primarily Evil Knievel was a motorcycle stuntist, but his son actually jumped an aircraft carrier sideways, not long ways, but he actually jumped an aircraft carrier sideways, and he was able to do it because the advances in motorcycles from that point to this point.
I know that you meant jumped over an aircraft carrier, but I pictured him making an aircraft carrier itself somehow jump over like the Grand Canyon or something.
Maybe if you were really good at throwing a football in school, you could do that with the flag.
Yeah,
and then I would probably murder you.
I think there would be some type of very hard, like if you're trying to do something like that with an aircraft carrier, that's going to be very hard. If anything, you're going to end up crashing into the Grand Canyon.
Super Dave Osborne. Yeah, see, I know Super Dave Osborne because he had a cartoon when I was a kid.
Okay, I watched his live comedy show a lot. I love that.
The live comedy was so funny.
With Fuji Nakajima.
Yes. Wow.
Awesome throwback. I love that show.
cool. So this is Mr. Magnus. This is one of Evil Knievel's vehicles.
This is his actual dragster rail. He set a couple of records with it, but this was his just go fast, get down the track fast. And any of his just standard jumps, jumping 9 school buses or something like that, was done in this.
Nice.
And then that's the rocket car.
Yeah,
And
the rocket
this
car
is-
hasn't come up
this-
for me yet, but if I remember correctly, it was a 79 Lincoln.
No, this is a rocket. Well, wait for it to come up.
With
This is what he
authentic battle damage.
Yeah, well, this is the one that he jumped the Grand Canyon in.
On the tricycle?
No.
What
The
are you
rocket car
jumping
that
with
was
that?
before.
Sorry, let me go back. There we go.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
That's incredible.
I
Wow.
like the smash nose.
Yeah.
He didn't make, if I remember correctly, though, he didn't
He
make
didn't
the
make it.
Grand Canyon jump. Yeah.
Yeah, he broke like 28 bones in his body.
Oh,
Oh my god, that must have been the Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then
gonna make it. I'm
the
gonna
next-
make it.
The
Or
next
the
few
only way
pictures
if you're
are going to
playing
be
Roblox and you're trying to break all of your bones.
the next few pictures are Evil Knievel merchandise that was out there. This was a pedal car that we had as like a big wheel.
Did any parents groups ever be like, "Oh, kids are gonna try to jump things in these trikes. That's dangerous." Because I can immediately hear that argument.
No, because this was
Yeah,
like
I
the
can agree with you.
70s when the boomers still
Yeah.
had their kids.
Ah, so nobody cared.
Yeah.
yeah, because this is when we were children, and if we weren't jumping Hot Wheels or bikes, we were jumping shopping carts and just doing all sorts of things that we shouldn't have been doing, but yet we're still here.
Oh, trust me, the stupidest thing I ever did was try and jump my bike over a ramp.
Oh, we've
Yeah,
done
my-
plenty of those.
I built
I hurt
plenty of
my
ramps.
legs hard.
So, Magnus, which vehicle is this one?
It's another one of the little rocket-powered, smaller versions.
Cool.
It actually had 2 small solid cell rockets on each side.
I remember him having a rocket-powered 78, 79 Lincoln Continental. I don't know what it was
That
for.
was not there.
Okay.
But this next
I'm pretty
picture
sure
you're going to
they
love.
No,
Well, not that.
Not that. Whatever that is.
That.
There we go.
Ooh, that's all the models, eh? The models and vehicles.
Yeah, and then down in the glass on the right-hand side, you see the red and the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's Evil Knievel and Evil Knievel 2. Those things, you wound them up real quick. You cranked them up with a crank on the side, and then you hit a button and it would take off.
Oh,
And that motorcycle
yeah.
would race across the floor. Or,
I forgot about those. Yes, I remember that as a kid.
That's interesting. Marketing the heck out of this guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. They made like it was like special TV broadcast when he did jumps,
hmm
or
Yeah.
all of his Daredevil stuff. I mean, they would like literally cancel whatever show was on for that night just to show this guy's jumps.
And I
and
mean,
it
back
wasn't a
then,
pay-per-view thing, but we didn't have that back then. It was just
Mhm.
Saturday night from 7 to 9.
Yep.
Whatever shows we're going to be on is off because we're going live to the Grand Canyon.
Yep.
Wow.
Or
Oh,
we're
that's
going
true.
live to New York, and he's going to jump across the Hudson.
I think he would have made good if he jumped over the Twin Towers.
That would have been an interesting
That,
jump.
that's a bit high. It's, I think 200 stories or something like that.
Yeah, but
it would have been worth
Now,
it.
if I'm not mistaken, didn't his son go from tower to tower, didn't he?
No way.
Oh.
No way. That's insane.
I don't know.
Hang on, I got something to search for now.
Someone did a tightrope across them, I
Speaking
think.
of the devil, somehow I figure out some type of crazy idea.
well,
they made a
I'm just
movie out of
thinking,
that.
Good
all those
idea.
Fast and Furious movies, and I think the last set, which I didn't watch, but I think weren't they kind of hinting towards that, where it's like now we're just jumping vehicles over buildings through space and all sorts of other craziness.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But if you are a fan of the franchise, I would recommend the last one. I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, and the last one was way more fun than what it deserved to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
fast
understand
attack.
that's the appeal these days. They're self-aware that they're kind of dumb and goofy and are just leaning into it.
Yep.
So actually, before we get to our guest, what reveals does everyone have to show? And actually, I'll start with Toy Warp. We'll go over to the Impactor. Toy Warp, what do you have for this week to reveal?
Well, it's not too often that I get the G1 stuff. However, this week, see if I can get it far enough with the camera.
My God! Rock'em Sock'ems.
Rock'em Sock'em.
You got the Rock'em Sock'em from the
Transformer themed. Yeah.
You're
okay.
lucky.
So here's a short story with this. Local toy museum just opened up, and it's really cool. I really thought that when I went up there, I was going to have to like tell them I have a bunch of stuff that I would loan out to them to fill this big building. Oh no, they're chock full, and they even have a retail section. And this was in the retail section. Now the cool part about this is that when I got it, it was actually factory sealed. This tape, I didn't think it was factory because I figured they would have glued the box shut, but there's no glue on the inside of the lids here. So that means that I now have sealed contents.
Oh, look at the size of those things.
Right?
Wow, the legends are true.
Yeah. So those are like toy style head sculpts, right?
Yeah, they're a little off. I know you can't see it through the plastic, but I don't want to open up the plastic. But
Wow, cool.
yeah, they're a little off. Megatron's got some lips on him like he did in. Oof.
When they say hit them right in the kisser for that, they wanted to make sure you knew what they were talking about.
There you go.
But yeah, the thing's complete with all the instructions and everything. It's just amazing that this all exists. 40 years later. This is actually dated 1985, and it's from Durham Industries. Durham Industries is also the company that gave us the pinball machine. I managed to pick this up for $100 and some Tonka trucks that I had already been trying to unload.
Nice. Wow.
Cool.
85. That's an awesome year.
Yeah.
I was born.
Like I said, the box is still even really, really good shape.
Yeah, that's some good
73
art.
is a better year.
That is incredible, man. I always wanted one of those, and they never released it. But I guess that happened before my time. Wow, look at that.
Now, the crazy part about this is that it was stupid expensive because it's Transformers related. I put out a video on the channel here a couple months back for the Daredevil 500 set. It's basically like a roller coaster for the little cars that come with it, and the cars go up and down the little roller coaster thing. Pristine new, that set might go for $40 if it's like new old stock, gradable something. Might go for $40. Mask actually put out a version, and it had the Thunderhawk and Jackhammer with it. And that set I saw in an auction one night, and I was planning on spending about $100 on it. The guy opened up the bidding at $2. The thing went for $3. Now it's the same thing with the Rock'em Sock'em robots. You can pick up a Rock'em Sock'em robot vintage set because I guess they made them clear up to like 2000. You can pick up that vintage set for like $30-$40, but because it's this, it goes for 2-3 times more. The last set I saw going for sale on eBay sold for $225, best offer taken, and there's another set up there now for $1.99, and that's for open sets. And one of the open sets didn't even have a box, and the other box was in poor shape. The guy said, I kind of value this at around $500 since it was sealed. So he went ahead and made a deal with me because he wants to do future business with me. And I'm actually talking to him about displaying some of the displaying my GoBots collection up there. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's my reveal. It ain't too often I get to do a Transformer reveal since I just do G1. So
Awesome find.
That's cool. And James great also says great haul Toy Warp. And let's go over to Impactor. What do you have to reveal for this week?
So for this week, well, besides the other things, the 4-pack came in on Tuesday when it was supposed to be on Wednesday. So here's Squeeze Play.
With Browning.
Nice.
Yes, with the whatever thing. Then Tarn, in which Tarn is legitimately super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I like for this release they gave him Bludgeon Sword. They just for the heck of it.
Oh,
Well,
interesting.
it was kind of more to the IDW idea, because in the IDW comic book universe, he was dual wielding his fusion cans and swords.
Mm-hmm.
Tarantulas.
Yeah, in his prototype colors.
The eyes don't make sense.
Well, they don't have to. They just have to look cool.
I saw that
Then-
recently in stores. They do look nicer in person than they
Bludgeon.
did in the stock photography.
And I shocked my parents with having all three. I have the original IDW, then Bludgeon and Tarn.
Mhm.
And then for my shelf over here, I have put everything up. I have all my Transformers, Autobots versus Decepticons.
Oh, it's a nice
Nice.
display.
Yeah.
Especially with Megatron's blaster effect.
Oh, that's clever.
I have the Autobot and Decepticon insignias there. But everything else, I have both Metroplex and Landfill here, and then I put it carefully Jetfire up there, because I am not
Nice.
having that thing fall. And well,
Looks
before the
precarious.
person comes here, I'm just going to quickly
He's
transfer
pretty
him
solid.
in. Anybody
Mhm.
else has other things, I'll shed this at the end once he's finished transformed.
I got a couple things. I found the one Star Seeker that I was after, Road Pig, because I had the original back in 1994. So the fact that they did an update, I was like, well, I got to have that. I don't have my original anymore, but I have a repaint of them they did later. So if you can imagine these
Yeah, I
colors
got
on
that
this
one.
guy, yeah, that's the
Nice.
original. So
I got
little
Axer
94
as
one.
well.
Apparently this guy's one per case, like Cosmos was, so I got lucky finding one. And I also picked up the new big complicated leader class Springer, who comes with so much stuff. That's how they justified making him a leader class figure. You got the helicopter blades turn into a sword. They gave him an entire second sword so that it could be more animation accurate. They gave him a hammer for some reason. They gave him two little guns over here. They gave him a really big gun over here. And they gave him the rocket he loads into the thing when he says, I got better things to do tonight than die.
Nice.
So he just comes with a big pile of plastic. So that I think justifies the leader class price just on its own.
And the hammer, I think, is for Last Stand of the Wreckers, I think, possibly.
Yeah, it's the iconic Wrecker's hammer is what they keep calling it, but there was never a specific Wrecker's hammer, so nobody's quite sure what they mean. But whatever, he's got another thing in his pile of
the
stuff.
Wreckers' logo had a hammer instead of like a nose and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're getting it from.
Yeah. Funny thing is, there's space on it right. I can't see that at all. Trust me, there's an indent in here for
Everybody
a logo
needs
that
to
isn't
know it's
there.
just lime green.
Yeah.
Well, actually, over to you, Fair. As you mentioned with the Studio Series Springer, James Coleman had commented on our previous video, and I'll mention some of what he said, and he goes, something important to say for people who purchased Studio Series 86 Springer. If your copy has a problem with the tabs that connects on the arms in the armored card mode, it's not going in the tabs, then the connection is slightly bending like a bridge. If this happens on your copy, get a set of tweezers and break the tabs and smooth it with sandpaper. And he was saying that the people with Generations G2 Ramjet also had that same problem.
Yeah. I fortunately did not have any issue, but I understand what he's talking about. You got to really squeeze these arms to get in there, so some people might just want to sand some of the tabs down. But so far, so good on my end. But your mileage may vary. Depends on how you roll the quality control.
Cool. And who else has reveals before we bring in our guest?
I do.
Yes, I do. There goes that shredder, that Turtles Grayskull shredder I was going to order.
Oh yeah, He-Man Shredder basically, or I guess
Yeah,
Skeletor
so-
Shredder because he's a bad guy.
Yeah, and I think I posted maybe on the Facebook group, just playing around with different parks from Skeletor, the 2-pack Skeletor with Demogorgon from Stranger Things 2-pack. That Shredderized Skeletor, the regular Skeletor, and then that Krang Megator.
Yeah,
And
it's
then-
funny
so I
because
got-
Shredder fits the Masters of the Universe aesthetic so well that it doesn't even read to me as like a variant. I'm like, that's just a Shredder.
Yeah. And he has a big old axe and crossbow. I have to remember to pick up the axe that fell off. And then earlier today, I got the old '89 letterhead.
Oh,
Has
nice.
his belt, his gun, and the bear trap. Then while I was at it, and this is at the other end of the spectrum from 2018, John Cena voiced Baron Draxum. He's sort of like a Magneto type character, but there's like a whole undercity in Rise of the TMT, and he has these little shadow dog guys. Now these are built onto him, but he has like 2 little mini figures. And I guess it'd kind of be like if you're familiar with the Top Cow comic, The Darkness. They're kind of like those little shadow gremlins. Then he has then the way the mutagen is processed, he injects it, has a bunch of mosquitoes, or as he calls them, squeetos. Comes with one with the wings up and then ones with the wings down. And I honestly did not realize it was John Cena voicing him the whole time. I mean, you know how like some of those wrestlers like The Rock, he's normally criticized for like he has the one way of acting, it's The Rock. He has the one voice, it's The Rock. I did not honestly recognize that it was John Cena. And there wasn't any like voice manipulation like, sound wave and Transformers or anything like that. But it's, if you like 2D animation, Rise of the first season and the movie are on Netflix. Whereas the second season is on like Paramount Plus and also the first season. But I saw him in the store for $10. I was like, I can get him new and in package complete. And then there's like loose ones going for around the same amount. So I was like, yeah, I'll get him. There's another guy named Meat Sweats who's like this. Imagine if Gordon Ramsay got turned into a cannibal who likes to cook up other mutants. So that's already crazy enough. This Gordon Ramsay personality, cannibal. He can absorb other people's powers, like Rogue from X-Men, and then he has like this Tessio arm, like the kid from Akira. So he's a pretty gnarly character. I want to get his figure. The other the villains, I'm like, I'm not as worried about, but I got him, and I'd like to get Meat Sweats too. So
I think we all get the Meat Sweats sooner or later.
Yeah, and I know I can get the same store I got these 2 at today. I'll probably get Slash and Triceratops. The orange Triceratops guy. I can never remember how they. It's like Triceraton, Triceraton. But like the orange Triceratops humanoid, like the originals of those too, and it's like cheaper than waiting for the newer ones or the re-releases that are gonna have less deco on. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll get these.
Triceratons.
I guess that's how you say it.
I don't know enough about turtles to comment.
Right.
If he wasn't in one of the movies, I don't know him.
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm on
Grew up on the
2012
show.
now because I went ahead and finished Rise. I know I was saying how I was bouncing in between with back and forth with Rise in 2012. And then I settled on finishing Rise off for what I could see. And then I'm finishing up Rise and now the first 2 seasons that they got on Netflix anyhow. And then probably next month or when it gets colder, I'll probably pay for Paramount Plus for 1 month and just watch a bunch of stuff on there and then be like, never again.
Cool. So James Coleman says, Meat Sweats sound like a name for a Titan of Attack on a Titan. Also says, great weapon storage for Springer in helicopter mode for Fear. And before we get to our guest, Impactor has a question. Decepticitty and Mr. Magnus, do you have any reveals?
Yes, I do. The mask stuff that I ordered came in.
Ooh.
Let me switch over. There we go.
So,
Oh, because you ordered the frame for Rhino, right?
right. So it came with Miles Mayhem, which is not one of the riders for it. This is the frame for the Rhino with the battering ram on it.
Nice.
And I'll be tonight while the stream is going on. I'll be transferring this over to mine.
Oh, so you're making
The
a new vintage one.
Piranha came in, and then that also launches out and becomes a submarine.
Nice.
Mr. Magnus, may I just say that looks like the thing that they use in Transformers when they're creating the space bridge in Transformers G1. That looks like the pod that they use.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. It
And
does.
This is the one that me and Toy were talking about. This is Jackknife.
Jackhammer.
Or Jackhammer, yeah. Push down. There it goes. The front end. The hood comes up over to guard the windshield. The top drops down, and when you spin the wheels,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and then there's this in the back. It becomes a turret.
That's cool.
And that's where your driver sits.
But yeah, I'll be making my vintage Rhino while the show is going on today.
Far
nice.
out. Hopefully you get it done by the end of the stream so we can check it out.
Mhm.
Looks like it's only about 8 screws now. I'll tell you what, I was glad that this came like this because it shows me a lot of springs in here that I didn't realize existed.
Yeah, everything on those things is spring loaded, and that's when those springs don't work. They actually kids will run them through water and stuff, and it's bare metal, so you got to clean those springs. And yeah, just be careful because those springs will go everywhere.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yep.
Impact, actually, Decepticitty, did you have a review for this week?
Unfortunately, no. I thought I would maybe have some 3D printed stuff 3D printed, but my 3D printer has been on standby for a couple of weeks now. So unfortunately, nothing this week.
Okay, that's cool. And Impactor, did you have a quick question so I can bring in our guest?
So I now have Cliff Jumper into bot mode, and he looks perfect.
Yep, that's the guy who was played by The Rock and then died in the first episode
That's
already.
him.
I have a audio setup that actually sounds like The Rock, so for my stop motions, I'll be using that.
Oh, nice.
Chase's weaponry actually gives you the ability to give him his triple gun.
Nice.
And then one other thing, a lot of people had complaints with the Transformers Gamer Edition Cliff Jumper's sword and how it wouldn't connect under like his hand, basically, like how the original toy did.
Yeah, I've heard that guy's a mess.
Taking the Transformers Prime Studio Series Cliff Jumper, not Studio Series, Cliff Jumper Light Bar, which would be technically for Chase. I have no use for it since I don't have the second gun. I decided to put it under there like this, and then put it under his hand, giving him the sword.
Oh.
And it also works perfectly with Legacy Chasen, which I think will be the only melee character I have in this series.
Nice.
Good.
All right, let's bring in the guest.
Cool.
do you
So,
smell what the Rock is cooking?
so TFCon Toronto, which was last month, many artists, many guests that we met, interviewed, also including Michael Mercy was hiding in the comics. So shout out to Michael. We met Richard, who was in one of the final conventions in TFCon, and it was the Podcasters podcast where I remember meeting him, and he also met Mr. Alati, who's probably at work at the moment. But then after just talking to him, he said he would love to be a guest, and we connected. So here he is.
Hello.
All right, there we go. Hi.
Hey, Richard. Hi.
Come aboard, Mike.
You get to be right in the middle of our Brady Bunch setup.
Perfect.
So, Richard, I will welcome to the stream, and I will introduce everyone as myself, a Spin, Deceptikitty, who was also at the TFCon in the top center, Impactor Productions, one of our newer members over in the top right. Fear of Courage, our weekly writer, also a part of the crew on the left. Mr. Magnus, a part of the crew on the right. And SETTOM Arts, bottom left, who's also a member, and Tour Vintage Reviews on YouTube on the bottom right.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to meet all of you guys.
Nice to meet you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we all do something, but none of us. Well, okay, some of us are visual artists, but you're like a prolific visual artist.
Yeah, well, drawing Transformers has been like my shtick since like I guess 2008. It kind of just stuck. So
Hey, you're not the only one who draws.
really nice Impactor.
Since 2008, is that what got you started into art, or is that where your art with Transformers took off?
A bit of both, I would guess, because it was around like 3rd or 4th grade where I took art seriously, ? Because most of my art kind of goes back to just me drawing Thomas the Train as a 4-year-old, but that's just like simple shapes and whatever. So as I got older, I got invested in like Nickelodeon, so watching cartoons like Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob. My teacher had a How to Draw Nickelodeon book, and I was able to replicate those characters pretty quickly without like instruction. So my mom was like, there might be a potential in this for something in the future. So as I grew up, I wanted to be an animator, but it's harder to get into school for that. So illustration became my kind of shtick once animation kind of didn't want me coming after I knocked on the door a couple of times. So since I would say it was Transformers Animated was the first animated show that I watched for this franchise. It was right after the Michael Bay movies and everything. So that was like the art style and the stuff that kind of got me into, there's just so much more beyond like the big movies and everything. So yeah, like Transformer wise, like that was the inception. I got the Allspark Almanac at like a book fair. So I was able to get all the character models and then try to replicate them. And then as time went on, I realized, I could draw these a lot better now as you practice and get better at your craft.
Sweet,
So I'm assuming we're going to get to see some of these tonight. I'm assuming you've shared some with Spin so they can put some up on screen.
I do have a Google Drive if I'm able to present. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I also have the Richard 77 art station, so I can bring that up on the screen as well.
Oh, sure. I'm not too sure if I posted anything on ArtStation.
Okay.
You mean Instagram?
Instagram is probably a lot better.
Okay. It's James Coleman says greetings, Richard, and Charlie C says hi, everybody. Charlie, also a longtime member, hiding in the comments for today. So let me bring over your Instagram.
Yeah. So, were you into Transformers before animated and the 2007 movie, or was that your introduction to the whole thing?
That was my inception to the franchise.
Oh,
so
interesting way to enter it.
Mm-hmm. Because like I said, I was the Thomas the Tank Engine kid and Spider-Man. So that was kind of like the in-between where it was like a kiddie kind of like normal. And then it's like Transformers was like the mature, I guess, aspects.
Yeah.
Especially after 2007. So.
Yeah. By the way, I as somebody who grew up on the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, I really appreciate how much of your art is specifically from that.
Oh, thank you. That's my favorite cartoon because I grew up with just 2 VHS tapes, if you could believe it, of that show.
Oh, so, what episodes were they?
Revenge of the Goblins and the 6 Forgotten Warriors. So I had every episode with actually Neil Ross, who does Springer, as the Green Goblin, Mark Hamill as Hobgoblin, which I didn't know who he was prior to that. Like I didn't know Star Wars, so it was like, who's this Mark Hamill guy? And then as I get older, I'm like, oh, he's Luke Skywalker. That makes sense. Yeah. He's also the Joker too. So it's like I knew Mark Hamill not for his live action roles,
or his most famous voice acting role, just like his second most famous one.
Yeah, close to the Joker. But yeah that show is like,
Luke, I am your father.
Yes. So I always, like, for me, once I learned how to do digital art, I was like, oh, I can actually put the colors and shade them the way that they're like in the show. So most of my stuff in beginning early stages of digital art was, let's see if I could recreate these animated looks and see where it goes.
Obviously, they should hire you for when they inevitably make Spider-Man 97 to go along with X-Men
I would
97.
love like as character design,
Yeah.
or even just backgrounds. To be honest,
Where's my
like,
Transformers
goal
97?
Spider-Man first. We have a lot of other Transformers stuff.
Yes, but it would be a dream, like especially with you guys were talking about Earthspark earlier. That's the first show that I've seen representation for me because the dad is a Filipino. So
Yeah.
to have that part of a show that is so connected to something I love so much, it just brings me to like tears. Like I honestly love the character of the dad. He kind of reminds me of my dad. I don't think my dad's as big of a Bumblebee fan as he is, but it's nice to see like a part of my culture and just like imbued into like one person who's a human that's also a great human. I really like the characters from Earthspark for some reason.
Yeah.
Might be a bit biased, but
I'm
like
with
that.
you there. I like the characters.
I liked how his whole shtick is that he's an 80s Transformers fan, basically.
I also love how they brought the 80s art back for like some of the like short cut scenes kind of.
Yes.
What's funny
Go
is
look at this.
I got into G1 because my parents didn't want me hogging the DVR for Transformers Animated. So we went
my
to a
parents
Toys R Us.
introduced to me with DVDs. I got the
that's how I
OG
got introduced.
DVDs. My parents just showed me every last episode and then the great 86 movie. But thankfully, I watched all the accursed Michael Bay movies, so I was okay with Optimus dying.
Well,
Over
actually,
and over again because I watched it over and over again. Trust me. But then
You
once
watched
I got
it out
my
of order.
computer, once I got the computer, I then watched almost every last episode of Animated and Transformers Prime in order.
Yeah, it was the 25th anniversary, I think, when those DVD sets started coming into where I live. So it was at a Toys R Us, and I think it was like one of my big purchases. I got Animated Bumblebee around the time, and then they had the first season of Generation 1 Transformers. So I brought that home, my parents thinking that it was the show that I was watching on TV, not knowing that it's the 80s cartoon. But I ended up falling in love with it, especially when I learned that Peter Cullen, because movie was first for me. So when I learned that he did it originally in 1984, I was like, oh, this is why I love it. Like his voice is just, it's just butter.
Richard, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Which death made you the saddest from the 86 movie?
Oh, probably Optimus. I actually tuned into YTV in Canada while they were playing it on an animated marathon, and that was the first scene I saw. I missed the first 30 minutes of the movie, so I just tune in and I'm seeing Optimus connected to like life support, and they're like, "He's dying," and I'm like,
Messed up. For me, it
"Wait,
was
what's
Ironhide.
happening?" Oh, Ironhide too. Anything
Such
that Peter
heroic
Cullen does.
nonsense gave it all. It was sad.
Mm-hmm. Now that movie has a close like for me. I think part of my soundtrack for my table at the Artist Alley was just playing the '86 movie soundtrack in order, plus the songs from the original album. So I synced it up to a playlist so that it would play, and I memorized the movie because I watched it so many times that you're just reading up dialogue in your head.
Cool. Now, I actually have a question for you, because since you were in Artist Alley, and I know they rearranged how the vendors and the artists were for this year, what's your point of view of where Artist Alley was?
Well, at first, I learned about it because of another artist that was at Artist Alley. I think his name is Gabe Ramos. I followed him on Insta last year because, like, there was an Artist Alley Discord that was given to me, I think, a week or two before. So we all found out at the same time when the map finally got released, and we're like, wait a minute, what? Where did we go? Because I'm used to Artist Alley. I've been going to TFCon since I was in 2013. So Artist Alley was always in that hall. Like, you see all the guests, the comic book people, like everybody. And then it was kind of funny because last year it was Alex Milne, and then Artist Alley continued. So it was like, oh, we're with Alex Milne, yay. So, but when we found out, we're like, oh, how are they going to promote this? Like, is there a way to get word out that, hey, The small artists that did book a table for a sum of money are over here in registration. And my main fear was because we weren't open on Friday. We were set up. And TFCon is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So while we were setting up, people were already registering their tickets because there was early registration so that you could get to the dealer room bright and early the next day. So most of my cohorts at Artist Alley, we tried to like make Twitter posts or Instagram stories or whatever. Actually, if you go to Instagram, you'll probably find my horrible Optimus Prime impression where I do the the 2007 message, but in Optimus Prime like voice and with Linkin Park playing in the background to show where everyone is, just to get some people to know where we are. So overall, though, for the weekend, we were pretty busy Saturday. So in the end of the day, I ended up making double my table costs. So that was a pretty good, like I wasn't sure. I had very, very kind of mid expectations, especially when we're like, oh, we kind of got shoved to a corner. But apparently this happened at TFCon LA because my table neighbors said that they were kind of in a different area too, and it kind of was corded off. So, but the main reason why they had us next to registration is because like registration people are going. If they see us, hopefully they go in the room. But I remember that room also being a dealer room at one point because there was one point TFCon did oversell tables and that was a toy room. But if there's no kind of grab towards the other guests, we kind of were left on our own devices to be like, okay, self-promotion, maybe try to get a couple friends. I was trying to reach out to a couple YouTubers that I know. I'm like, please tell people where we are. Just because you don't know how it's going to go and you're just trying to help support the other people that are in the same kind of thing as you, just to like make your table back, sell some of your stuff, and hopefully make a profit as well. Because like if you pay a good chunk of money just to rent it out for a couple days and then you go under, it kind of distastes like the feeling of being in like a vendor at one of those conventions.
Yeah, you feel like a little bit of on a outside of the convention, really. Because you kind of were, in a sense. Like, this was my first year being at a dealer table, and man, that was a different change. Like, I've been coming to TFCon for so long, but like being a dealer and actually working at the convention was a really big change for me. You've been a dealer a few times before, have you not?
I was at Artist Alley last year, so that's what convinced me to do it this year. Because I kind of did it out of whim. I met one of the again, it's the people at Artist Alley that convinced me to do this because I went to school for illustration. I finished about 2 to 3 years ago, and I've been working full time for my job to pay off the debt. So there's not much time to draw in between, especially when I was telling Spin that I work 4 to 12 shifts, so 4 p.m. to midnight. So trying to find a sleep schedule that works proper and time to do your craft is very difficult. So as I'm able to like fuel my passion for Transformers and Marvel and whatever and get some art pieces done, and I'm like, oh, I could probably sell these. So it's a very different experience because as like, I guess a Patreon, when you're going as a guest and you're like, you have your list of toys that you want, you have your guests that you want to do. When you're a vendor, you have to strategically plan that, because if you still want to meet Stan Bush or Victor Caroli, I always like made sure that I come into like a group of 2. I have a couple friends that volunteer to help me, and I'm so grateful for them because I'm like, I also needed washroom breaks because you're going to be there for like more or less a full shift sitting, and you might need to get food or drink or whatever. So they're like, no, we got you covered. So if you need to leave or if you want to enjoy the convention, go ahead. I didn't leave my table as much because I felt like I had more of a responsibility when it was away from the dealer room. Because if it was right next to it, you could just kind of sneak away on a washroom tour and go, oh, that table has the thing I want to grab later on. Okay. And then just walk back, and you don't feel bad for leaving your table. But this year it was like, I'm very far. It was like all the way next to like the restaurant and everything. So I made sure that there's like maybe an hour or 2 where I got to meet the guests that I wanted to see. So it was very, very fun. TFCon for me has always been like my one thing that I look forward to every year. It's that and Fan Expo, but Fan Expo depends because it's everything. Transformers is like my niche little thing that I love so much, so I feel like that has a better serotonin boost for me over the weekend.
Okay.
Well, this year it's my first TFCon.
Oh.
So actually, let me pause for 1 second and go over to Mr. Magnus. And
Ooh, oh, the project's done, eh? Already?
Yep.
Oh, hello. I saw the pop out.
Very cool. All the mechanics are working?
Yeah, all the other pieces.
That chrome on it.
The operation was a success.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
If they restored
Bill.
Optimus to his full strength.
there you go.
Bill, is that chrome on it?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of chrome on those.
Is it? It looks in pretty good shape from the little view that I have on my phone.
Oh, it's in immaculate shape. But when I got it, it was in pieces, and I've slowly been redoing it. And last week, I found the last piece for this. I still got to get Bruce. He's the other pilot that goes in it. But yeah, I've got the truck now. Before I was missing the bumper, I was missing the stacks. I'm still missing one mirror. I got the other. Here's the other mirror. But yeah, Bruce Soto's supposed to be on this side. The stacks were missing off of it when I first got it. It was just the front cab. But this was broken off of the ram. Where'd I put that other ram at? So the front was snapped off of it. And so now we're back to 100%. Yeah, you hear all these springs grinding in this thing. It's phenomenal.
Cool.
It's so burning hot with my eyes. It's more shiny than my knife that I gave Ironhide.
When you say Bruce, I always think of
Bruce
spaceship.
Wayne.
No, spaceship Bruce from Transformers Headmasters. Because I think Fortress Maximus.
Oh.
Bruce.
No, Bruce Sato is the other pilot for this one. I've got the map tracker for it, which is this one. And here's his little mask.
Dope.
Cool.
Yeah, when we were talking the other week about that mask stuff going up in price at the Toy Museum, he had a Panache Voltron still in the box. And apparently I have to check the prices on my Voltron stuff too because he wanted $2,000. Would have been a great article for CBR.
Yes.
Now, what's
Yeah,
the
a lot of
Panache? Is that
money.
the lead one?
No, the lead one's the Matchbox one.
Oh,
No,
okay.
this was the plastic version that came after from Panache. And it was still in the box. The box was in okay shape. The window was a little yellowed. He still wanted $2,000 for it.
RJ Eagle says, OMG Magnus, amazing. Is that mask or super robot truck? That is the mask truck. And just kidding, he's orange. And so RJ Eagle says over to Rick, hey guys. Hi Rick, you got some great artwork on Instagram. Love the rich colors on both the Marvel and Transformers pieces, especially the Wolverine and Optimus with the purple background.
Thanks, RJ.
Cool. And Senom, I know you had a question for Rick.
Yeah, I was thinking since we already got a good sense of, because you talking about your interest in Transformers, and then we saw your different posts with like the 97 Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man. I was curious, maybe since you had some X-Men stuff, it looked like the original 97 series and then the 97 revival with Sunspot and Jubilee. I was curious if you knew about X-Men Evolution and Wolverine the X-Men, and maybe even the Wolverine Madhouse anime as well.
I think my first X-Men series was Wolverine and the X-Men with Steve Bloom. Like, he was my first Wolverine voice. And it wasn't until I think it was reruns of Spider-Man the Animated Series that I really learned who the X-Men were, because they do appear in 2 episodes of the 94 show. So that's how I was like, okay, what are the X-Men? Then I started watching the Fox movies and getting really into it. And then this last the 97 show reinvigorated that like passion for those characters, because I didn't realize I had it because I wasn't born at the time when those shows came out. I just kind of watched them as I grew up. But to have those characters, and they mean so much to me too, especially I did that Wolverine on Instagram for Cal Dodd because he was at a toy show here in Canada a while back. So For me, it's like mainly if I my main goal as an artist when I go to these like conventions and whatnot is if I'm able to give a piece of me to the actors or the people that made my childhood that much fun, that's my way of giving thanks to everybody.
Yeah, there goes the
So
spectacular
X-Men
Spider-Man there,
Evolution,
right?
Yeah, I really hope to meet Josh Keaton because like he's in Transformers Prime. I don't know if he's ever going to make it to a con, but I have a couple of pieces that I want to give him.
Nice.
That's
And I know
awesome,
since
dude. That's
since
really
you
smart.
mentioned Mark Hamill doing like the Hobgoblin and not you realizing that was him first, I'm curious if you realize like Steve Bloom also did the voice of Spike in Cowboy Bebop, since that's just one of those series that even people that don't like anime know that series.
No transforming
is up with
sound way.
Mexico?
I did not know Steve Bloom did. Spike, yo, that is such a good voice, and
Yeah,
I love
Spike
Steve Bloom
Spiegel.
already for like Starscream and Transformers Prime, but also for Zadornog in Metal Gear Peace Walker. Wow, Steve Bloom is so good, man. So
He's one of my
Steve
favorite
Bloom-
voice actors.
awesome.
very
Steve Bloom also
wide
did
range.
warforcybertron stuff.
Oh, nice.
He did,
Yeah.
I think, the intro stuff, like the main, like the person who would talk before the mission would start, if I'm correct.
The narrator.
The narrator.
Yeah, he did his best Victor Corelli impression. That was pretty good.
Wow, yeah.
And what's
Hang on,
up with
since
Lockdown?
I had to
here?
go and get it. I had to go and get it.
Oh, did Mr. Magnus
Did you have a
get-
question, Impactor? Sorry, I think
Magnus
you cut
getting
off.
some-
Harvey had to go get it. Nothing's happening.
Yep.
Oh, is that?
It's Cowboy
Oh,
Bebop,
wow.
autographed by Steve Bloom.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
No
autographed by
way.
Steve Bloom. Just
Yeah,
a dream.
just a
and it's all a
dream.
dream.
Ah.
Nice.
Dude, that's so heavy. Wow, is that show ever heavy? Wow,
Yeah, I won
man.
this at
Well, maybe not
OMG
the
Con like
live
6
action
years
version.
ago. When it first came to Owensboro, I won this.
And my
Who
question
won
was,
that?
what was the idea for Lockdown, Rick?
Oh, for this one? Okay, so I always watch like the behind the scenes of stuff when it comes to like either Star Wars, Transformers, and whatever. So I learned that Cad Bane, the bounty hunter from Clone Wars, was originally supposed to be voiced by Lance Hendrickson, who we know as Animated Lockdown. And of course, he has a nice poncho and it's kind of westerny. So I was like, I think I could give ode to Cad Bane and Lance's original role in it before it went to Corey Burton, as we know, for many other Transformers roles as well. So I wanted to do like I think this was like during Mandalorian time too. So it was like Western. I had the pose in my head and drawing animated. Like I love Derek J. Wyatt's style so much. So to do something kind of fun with a different pose with a character that I do love, it was fun. Like that's the main reason why he looks a bit different than what you're used to.
Speaking of Lockdown, I'm working on a costume of him for TFCon next year for me.
Ooh. Which one are you doing? Animated or are you going for
Animated. I'm not
Okay.
going Bayverse. Bayverse is going to take me too long.
Have
The
to clarify.
details, the details is gonna. If I had to try and do it, it's gonna take me 2 years at my age. And also, does anybody know who? I forget what his name is. He's in Cyberverse. He's a cowboy, Autobot / Decepticon. I think. His name
Wild
is-
Wheel?
Yeah, Wild Wheel. That's what I got from Lockdown. Like a Wild Wheel vibe.
Western space pirate. Like what can you do with that?
No, I actually have RJ Eagles said, Rick, I noticed you have sketch / pencil work and deep color prints on your Instagram. Do you have a preference over sketching or the coloring?
So for sketching, that's I do like traditional as much as like that's where it started. It was just sketching on a piece of paper. So what I usually do is I've combined the two of traditional and digital. So I have this drawing as a print that I had for TFCon because I had the scan of it originally, and I gave this to Steve Bloom. So for me, what I really like doing is if I'm able to get the looseness and like the pose on paper very quickly because that's how I was taught in school, and then when I'm able to transfer it onto a tab like my iPad, I use Procreate as my drawing software. I'm able to get the colors the way I want it very quickly without having to worry about a traditional mess up, whether it be an ink blot or I erased too hard and the paper got crumpled. Like, there's a lot of advantages to having a digital palette so that when it comes to like colors, you can adjust it so quickly. Like, if this was Generation 1 Starscream, I could just change the colors like that, and it's all the other Seekers from that line. So for me, I do prefer sketching and inking on paper, and then everything else, like, I've learned how to become more of a digital artist because supplies are very expensive especially for the paper and markers that I use. So it's nice to have that alternative. Just be wary that you kill your iPad's battery very quickly. So
I can agree with you on that, but I'm just into the paper drawing. I do my basic.
That's great. That was my next question. Is what kind of device are you using? You just said iPad, so I guess you're using an Apple Pencil. And
yes,
what model iPad are you using?
I got it right when the pandemic ended. So it was like 2020 Apple Store opened and a tax refund. So it is, I think, a 13-inch.
Okay,
I can't remember which one. I think might have been either the 8 or the 9. I think.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of iPads, I discovered the old Comic-Con exclusive Soundwave, the one that actually transforms into an iPad recently, and I love how it looks.
Nice. Now, RJ also has I also had another question for you, Rick. Says, Rick, which one of your pieces that you've worked on that you love the most or enjoyed working on the most?
Ooh, it's a hard question. I think the one that I enjoyed the most is actually on my Google Drive, if you don't mind me sharing.
Oh, no, we don't mind.
Let's see. Present.
And actually, while you're doing that, I'm gonna throw a question onto you.
Sure.
Actually, I guess at the moment, how many Transformers would you say you've collected?
Enough for my mom to question me now.
Okay, now here's a question that we like to ask all of our guests. Say, something were to happen in your house and, everyone's able to get out and everything, and you had to run back in for one Transformer. Which one would it be?
Oh, that one's a bit easier to answer. So a couple fan expos ago, if you go farther down, I got to meet Peter Cullen for the first time. So I have a Transformersprime San Diego Comic-Con exclusive deluxe class Optimus that I found at TFCon for 50 Canadian, which isn't so bad. So I brought him with me to get signed, and that's probably the first thing I run out of the house.
Nice.
Okay.
For me, it's easily my Jetfire or my combiner, my RID 2001 landfill, because I get 4 characters with him, as long as I leave them in the combined mode. Also, Richard, you're not alone on the Transformers collecting thing, because my parents have questioned everything I've gotten.
So, are you guys able to see it, or no?
Ooh.
Yeah, we
see.
I like that. I like your Cyclonus.
Oh, thanks. I was very into IDW at the time and found a cool pose for. I don't know if it was Alex Milne who drew that first.
And Shiva Kobe, one of our other friends who's always in the comments, says, I'm here. I have a Studio Series 86 Springer in Wally World, but I'm getting the pre-order cheaper from GameStop in October. And I say go back in the earlier part of the stream or in the previous stream when James Coleman had mentioned that the possible issues with the Studio Series Springer. The NRG Eagle says, nice Shiva Kobe. I grabbed a Transformers 1 B127 figure at Walmart. I was surprised he was released already, which I agree with. I was just in Walmart the other day and saw a whole bunch of the Transformers 1 figures on the shelf already. So I don't know what the demand for those figures are, but I know they are out there. And Never Too Old for Lego. It's a perfect name. It says, what up, bots? And what up, Never Too Old for Lego. Thank you for joining.
technically you are, because the ages on Lego go from like, was it 4 to 99? So if you hit 100, you can't play with Legos anymore.
Yeah, sorry, too old for Lego.
And also,
Well,
Richard,
it's funny. There was a meme the other day. I think some like one of those fake news websites, which they actually have better news than the real news at times. And I think they said a lady, at the age of 101 was arrested because you're only allowed to play with Lego up to the age of 99.
That's good.
That's a good one.
I have a grandma. Well, I used to. I had a grandma who was 99, 190, not 199, 99.
Wow. That's
And
impressive.
also to go with Richard, I focused on the IDW stuff, so I have both Tarn and Bludgeon. Luckily,
I have those too. They're pretty fun.
which did you get first, Bludgeon or Tarn?
Tarn. I found Tarn at a GameStop, and I immediately posted him on a not dead Ultra Magnus, but I have the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus from a while back, and those two just go well together for me.
I got Bludgeon first in Target, and he was for $31, and then I got Tarn for Christmas.
Mm.
In which both of my friends said I was one of the luckiest people to find him in the stores.
Yeah, he was very scarce here in Canada. Like, I don't think I saw a Tarn ever again.
I'm talking about Bludgeon.
Oh, Bludgeon. Him too. I found him at a Walmart that I never go to, and I was like, oh, he's just there. He's just chilling.
Yeah, it's whenever you go to the random places, you'll find things you never expect.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Yeah, so the image that's on the screen, tell us a bit more about that one.
Perfect.
So this is the print I wanted to do for like the 40th anniversary of Transformers, because this is the year, right? So this combines a couple older drawings that I had, so Animated Optimus and G1 and G1 Megatron and Megatron, and from TFA. And then I wanted to add like this. These are the 4 shows that I go back to very often: Transformers Prime, Beast Wars, Animated, and G1. So for me, this would probably be my favorite, because just trying to get all of them in like one frame and figure out how they kind of complement each other, and they're all a bit different. My family didn't know there was that many versions, and I'm like, if I could tell you about multiverse, you would get very confused very quickly in continuity. So they're all different, but these are like the shows that I go to. Yes. So for me, I would say this is my favorite piece, just because getting to get something out for the 40th anniversary, especially with something that I love as much, and then I get to draw these digitally too. So Prime and Megatron they're special to this one. I don't have them in any other drawing. I mean, in specifically for the 2 Prime characters. So yeah.
So I got a question. The G1s here, they really, really look like the original animation from the cartoon. Say somebody wanted to hire you out to do, realistic looking, well, I would say realistic looking, G1 accurate characters. I saw you had a booth at TFCon selling the art, but do you take commissions?
I do. But I didn't have them open actually during TFCon, just because I'm still trying to figure out pricing, because as a new artist, you don't know how much you're supposed to price. So I did them as people asked. So it wasn't advertised. But as times would go on, like there was someone that came by last year to my table that doesn't get Transformer commissions, but like OC commissions of his own Naruto characters. And he came back this year. So instead of 1, he gave me 2, and then he gave me the caveat of, oh, you can't draw the one you drew last year for me. And I'm like, damn, okay. How about I see you in an hour or 2, and I'll see what I can come up with. So I think for next year, I'll definitely have like a commission price list, because that made a good, I'd say, probably $40 to $60 on me just having drawn the whole time. So I mainly drew at TFCon during the Artist Alley just to pass time, because it's a long day. So I always bring like my markers, my marker pads and everything, and then I just draw while jamming out to Stan Bush most of the time. So For me, like I would be more than willing to do any like transformer type commissions or anything. Like if you had like a prompt or whatever. For me, my main thing is ideas aren't the best. Hence, the fan art is what rules most of my portfolio right now, which isn't the best thing to go off because you do not want to get in trouble by the big companies, especially ones with a mouse on it or Hasbro. Which is why I'm also wearing like a T-shirt that I made of like it's a Transformers kind of homage, but it's Filipino inspired and it's kind of Gundam-y. And I sold these at TFCon, but because nobody recognized them, they were the crowd. They were the ones that were hoarding shelves. So for me, I didn't want to do an Autobot or Decepticon symbol because I was afraid that I would have get an NTA or something.
Right. Yeah.
You do not want to get in trouble by big people. So it's like for me, I'm able to do this and prove that I did draw them, so it's okay. But when it becomes to like you're selling your own merchant stuff, you want to be careful.
And it's funny you say that because I mean, initially when we put together the channel and the idea and everything, we're using kind of Hasbro-based logos for, just to promote ourselves. And within the years, I said, we need our own logo, our own design. So, just to avoid Hasbro walking up and saying, hey, you guys can't, make money off of our stuff. And,
you changed it to a good logo.
Yeah, we changed it, and everyone really likes it.
What's funny about that is a ton of people are now using that logo that was initially designed all over the internet. Like I've even seen it used by CBR. So yeah, that's floating around all over.
Oh no, Spin's gonna have to change that stuff ASAP.
Well, no, that's the old one. That's why I changed it from the old one.
Spin, for a suggestion for like the logo, you can maybe change the mace maybe to purple to match Prime and Megatron's axe. And
funny you say that because the black and gold is kind of a Wu-Tang inspiration, but there are other variations that will be in the works where the mace and the axe will be kind of colors derived from Optimus and Megatron. So that is in the works. Never Too Old says, that's cool. My brother just got some Transformers card drawings approved for contract and will be in stores soon.
That's awesome. Cards, like trading cards? That's so cool. Wow.
And RJ has another question saying, hey, Rick, do you also get Transformers inspiration from the comic books as well? If so, which companies, Dreamwave, IDW, Skybound, or Marvel?
I kind of collect occasionally for Transformers comics because there's just so many of them. I tried to get into IDW hard when it was like more than meets the eye and everything, like especially near the end of the run, but it's hard to find a comic book store near where I live. So I have to commute I'm in like northern Ontario-ish area, and Toronto's pretty far. So that's the only place that would have a comic book shop for like me growing up. So I would commute 2-3 hours just to go to a comic book shop and like blow a good bunch of money just to get whatever issues were left. So I do collect like Transformer comics, and I recently my town got a comic book store that's also kind of a bar, which is kind of cool. And I've been reading up a lot on the Skybound comics lately. So that's why it's like I'm getting reinvigorated with the G1 stuff. Like currently, last week was my birthday, so I got packages sent yesterday. So I have a ton of 86 Studio Series stuff. I got locked down.
Nice. And happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, dude. Nice.
I got Swoop.
You got Swoop.
I got Swoop. And I got my favorite 2 corpses to complete my set. Because I got the other 2.
Childhood trauma.
Rick, have you watched the stream at all? Because
I've been trying to since TFCon, but like I said, working the late nights, it's kind of hard to follow along. I can't have an earbud on while I'm working because I have to pay attention to calls. So
we've talked about the dead body crisis. And Tarn, I believe, might be up next for that treatment overlord, actually, with the IDW comic book universe.
To be honest, they're not bad to have on your Decepticon shelf, because my mom gave me the Ironhide and Prowl 2-pack last year for my birthday, so it's kind of fitting that this came like a couple days after. So now I actually have I guess the quartet from the Autobot shuttle attack. So it's really, for me, like G1 was kind of a thing that I couldn't really collect because as like an 8-year-old kid in 2008, eBay isn't really an option, and you don't have a credit card that your parents will let you use. So collecting Transformers was like what was available at the time. So I didn't really get into collecting G1 versions of characters until probably the Prime Wars era because I was working at Toys R Us at that time.
Okay.
I'm 100% with you there because my first ever Primeverse characters was actually a first edition Cliff Jumper.
Mm-hmm.
And then it moved on there from Siege now, and I now have mostly almost every G1 guy, but not Bumblebee! I am missing 86 Bumblebee. I don't have a single G1 Bumblebee.
No, RJ
I have too many at this point.
That's funny. RJ Eagle says, "Great haul, Rick." Then before the next comment, Decepticitty, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna ask, like, you worked at Toys R Us. That's so awesome. Like, that's like not surprising for Transformers fan. Now,
my first job, to be honest, right? Like when I turned of age, it was right around. So, just turned 16. You're now legal to work in Canada. So, I mainly got the job just because. One, they never called me back. So it was like in between a very odd time in my life where it was, okay, I applied for jobs. No one called back. I'll just go back to my merry ways, focus on school. And then a funeral later, go back and check in going, I never got a call. So I think there's a sale on Combiner Wars figures. Let me check to see if they're still hiring. So I go in, I buy my 2 figures. I think it was Sunstreaker and maybe Mirage because I was trying to complete my Ultra Prime, Omega Prime, or whatever that was. And so I have my baggie of Transformers, and I go to the customer service that's going, "Are you guys still hiring?" I gave an application, but you guys didn't call back. Because I didn't fill out an application either. Like they just were out when I applied, so it makes sense that they didn't have me on file. So I get called to the office, and I'm just with my bag in a winter jacket because it's like like October, November, and I didn't know I was in an interview for the job until like 2 questions in, and you start changing your mannerism.
Yeah.
I thought it was a conversation.
Nice.
So, and then I don't know
if tides have changed.
Yes, and buying Transformers, I don't know if it got me the job because it gives you like, oh, this guy has an expertise on stuff we sell. So even without him having to learn it, he already has his shtick. Yeah. So me working there for, I think it was 4 to 5 years. I don't think I crossed the 5-year, but it felt like it at that point. Mark, was me just enjoying every little bit of it, from making friends, that coworkers that were into Transformers too, so I wasn't alone. Like that was the first time that I'm like, I have people in my life that like the same stuff I do, and I don't feel judged. So they were my, I would say, dealers, because they would be on the days truck would come, and they would have a stash bin in the electronics department. So every other paycheck was me bringing a haul that I probably shouldn't have had.
And it's funny. I was, you working at Toys R Us, I was going to ask, is there, like, did you know of any sideways things kind of happening when it came to that? If you're not allowed to speak on it.
Oh, like about the current situation or like prior?
Prior.
So me for Toys R Us was like my go-to for anything, and especially because I used to live across from the store that I worked at. That was like my playground. So Toys R Us for me was a good company. Nice. It kind of changed as you work for it for a time, because as a 16-year-old, you have all the hope and the optimism in the world that there is when it comes. But working as a cashier that got turned into a customer service associate, it kind of soured things a little bit for me. Because it wasn't just...
Then they're sour.
Yes. It was definitely one of those. Because like for me, I worked as a cashier for about 3 years there before they kind of changed my position. I didn't really have say in it. They just kind of were like, oh, so-and-so's quitting, so we need someone to learn returns and store pickups and all that, and they kind of just put me there. So for the first week, I was on my own learning things as things went along, with very minimum training. So Kasha got all the training that was needed, and mind you, I was trained one day before Black Friday on my first shift today.
Oof.
Ooh, that's rough.
So I had to sink or swim. Those were the two options. And I was also the last one hired. So I thought I was going to be let go because I was a seasonal staff. But they liked my demeanor. They liked my attitude towards working that enough that they're like, no, we'll have you as a part-time. That's fine. Like, what hours work for you? And I'm like, okay. So it wasn't it for me. It was my first way to earn my own money. On top of that, support my family, because that's the main reason why I got a job first, because it was mainly I have a responsibility. So it's like, okay, at least this way I can help with family and bills and stuff like that. So it taught me a lot about responsibility and at least learning how to control your own money. Because back then, what TFCon 2013 was paper route money.
Nice.
So when you get to have like a proper job, that's when it's like, oh, okay, now I have expendable funds. So
Nice.
yeah,
I
to
think
dress
the
wisely
next
for me was okay.
A few years, because conveniently, in my area, I live in Pennsylvania. A local comic book shop used to be around in a mall, but then, well, sadly moved out due to the mall closing. And then, conveniently, like a few blocks away from my house, then they moved into an old carpentry like building. They redid the entire place, and now I have a comic book shop next to me and a Lego store next to me. I have like the two best places to find my stuff I need for Bayverse and Transformers. And that's where we also get my comic books. Me and my dad have been collecting every last issue for like Transformers Skybound, Void Rivals, and Duke. We're still missing a few issues for Duke and I think a Void Rivals. Transformers, we have everything.
Cool. Now, RG Eagle also has another question. It says, also, Rick, have you ever thought of creating your own robot designs since you're so good at drawing Transformers? And if you're selling, you avoid copyrights infringements.
I do have a couple in mind that are in the back burner, because right now I am trying to work on a portfolio for just applying to, because I went to school for independent illustration, and the specialization I took was visual development. So that's all the pre-production for animation, and even if it's like ideas for like comic books and whatever, like that's the stuff that I kind of grasp towards because it's so close to animation. So I have work in progresses right now for like my own designs and my own characters and whatnot, because for me, finding the originality comes a lot harder at times, because sometimes you find yourself slipping into old habits and then you copy a lot of things and you're like, oh, this looks too much like a Soundwave or like an Optimus Prime or something, and you're like, I have to dial it back a bit or change it into something else. So for me, originality is in the works. I just don't post it as often, also because with the whole AI art thing, I haven't really posted much, especially with Instagram and their things on Meta and everything. So lately, like that's why most of my stuff, if you like I sent you the Google Drive if you want to just like flip through like what I had as my catalog. But
okay, actually, I would throw the question over to you. What is your thoughts in terms of AI and other artists kind of using AI to create art? And it's just a funny irony in a sense where initially when I was recreating the logo for our collective, someone was saying, well, like a few people said, why don't you use AI to create it? Because that would kind of take time off of your hands. And I said, no, one, I want a person to create it. Two, whoever creates it needs to know the ideas of the basis behind of like why I want the logo to look a certain way. And I just know AI would never ever be able to pull that off. And I actually did try it once, and it proved my point. It could not. What it gave me was so far from what I was looking for, and I'm like, that's not even close to the idea I want.
Yeah, for me, it's been kind of, I'd say, an uphill battle because AI art started getting what was it, better last year or the year before? Like we saw the little hints that people were posting and journey artists and everything, and that's when I literally got scared because I went to school for how long of my life to learn simple fundamentals and basics of how to draw and how to make a shot, compose a character, and I took visual development, and most of that is technically what people are using AI art for, where it's like, here's 5 prompts, put it in, give the idea, because you can type in Spider-Verse like da 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 da, and then get it almost immediately. And I'm like, that would have taken me probably a day or two. And now it's like at the snap of your fingers, for lack of a better term, you have it at your hands, and people are going to pay for cheaper labor or whatever when it comes to business. So I got afraid for my future career because I went to school for going into that kind of visual development, pre-visualization type thing, and that's when you draw like 100 things before, if you're lucky, you get one chosen by the director or the person that's in charge of everything.
Yep.
So AI art for me, like if it's used as a tool, it's fine, but if it's used to make profit off someone's like art, or like just not give credit where credit is due, because artists are one of the most hardworking people, but we also get pushed aside when it comes to, I guess, making money, like, not for lack of a better phrase, but it's just very hard. And on top of that, like for me, I don't know how to price my artwork, so I just like, this is what I think works best, because I don't want it to be too expensive, because then people won't buy it. But if you make it too cheap, then you're not making money. So the main thing for me, like as an independent illustrator, is trying to find that balance between figuring out a way to, one, do what you want to do for a living that makes you happy. Because you want, for me, art is my career path. But right now, it's kind of the hobby, because the career path has to take over expenses and funds and stuff like that.
Right.
So when it comes to having this as your like your North Star, the main thing is to make sure that you're proud of it and make sure that this is authentic to you, that it isn't anyone else's like ideas or visions, or it's compromised by certain beliefs or anything like this. The pieces that I do are more or less like a fanboy's interpretation of like, oh, this was like The Watcher, What If was big at the time too. So it's like, I want to try that. Because once I find the art I'm inspired by, it's like, okay, pick the reference, pick the pose, and just go ham. So if you're able to create that way and it takes a while, I don't like when someone can be like, oh, I just did that by 2 words on a keyboard. It really hurts me.
Yeah, and it is insulting. Rev J Mental Journey says, howdy, Toy Warp, Children of Primus, and everyone in the chat.
What's going on, Rev Rets?
Hey, Rev.
And Lexi says, howdy, Impactor over. And he also says, hey, Rev.
I have a question for Rick, since it would kind of steam off AI. So I know you had mentioned you work with markers, and I know I remember having a very specific experience with a drawing in art school. And I'm the type of person, I can color like super smooth with markers and have it look like it was printed out by a computer. But I also, at the same time, I feel like there's like considering that there's that, you can have that type of skill level with marker or painting, and not, let's say, traditional paint, and you paint and you don't have your brush stroke show. It just looks like a photograph. People that have that sort of skill. I mean, you could make an argument that AI art has that sort of like immolated. That would be one extreme, and then on the other extreme would be like maybe artists that take their hand out, the sense of their hand, their mark making out.
Yes.
But it's still hand produced. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? Since that's sort of like the opposite extreme, that would be more the artist extreme of it. Taking the artist out of the art, even though it's totally produced by hand.
Yes, that's the main thing for me, digital art was the one way to save on expenses for supplies. Because for me, my art supplies are not, they're not your Crayolas or, like it's very, very high end.
No. He wants the expensive Crayolas with the sharpener in the back.
Yeah.
That's a thing?
I do have that.
Awesome, classic.
Matter of
But-
fact, actually, I do think we actually have something like that.
But for me, like when it comes to stuff like for me, for my stuff, do you guys tell like there like I know I do a lot of replication when it comes to like animated styles and whatnot. But you guys can tell that there's like a human hand that did produce this. There's like kind of inconsistencies. There's maybe a proportion issue or whatever. When it comes to AI, they kind of just throw that out of the water, and it does lose its touch. I do have a story for you guys that I don't know if you guys, for whoever went to TFCon, if you know the AI artist coup that happened at the artist alley.
I heard something
Actually,
about this.
Now,
Tell
hold
us.
on.
Tell us.
Now, hold on. Now,
I
just
heard
before we
about
get to
that.
the story, as we mentioned, everyone, please like the video, subscribe to our channel. But most importantly, and I should have done this at the beginning, Richard, where can they find your art and find you if they wanna buy your art or commission you to do any of the art?
Okay, so I'm mostly on Instagram at RickRayILU. So it's short for Richard Reyes Illustrations. I just short form it so then it's easier for everyone to say, and it was part of brand making in school, so it kind of stuck. So the account that I use the most is R1CKREYILU at Instagram, and I believe it's the same for Twitter. So or X or whatever we're calling it these days. So
Cool.
I have that, and my DMs are always open for anyone that's interested. Commissions wise, it's always, I'm still trying to figure it out. So if you have something that you have an idea of and you'd like me to do, I'd most likely stick with digital because mailing's also an issue because I don't want things to get lost in the mail. But those are the two ways to contact me, and I'm also at Rick Ray Illustrations at Gmail for
Perfect.
any questions, comments, and concerns.
Cool. And
Quick question for
Professor
you.
D in the comments says important for Richard, and says ... So I know there's more coming up. So Mr. Magnus has a question. Let's go over to Magnus.
I want to hear the
Are
drama. of it.
you U.S. based or Canada based?
Canada based.
Okay.
Okay, so are you guys ready for
On with the story.
Hell yeah, juicy drama.
TFCon. So
Yeah.
I was oblivious to this, so I only found out after. But Deceptikitty, were you able to? I don't know if when you went to the artist alley, did you see the table that was right next to us, like on the left of it? So
memories.
it's kind of okay. So the one thing that was nice about Artist Alley this year is that I was in the same configuration of like neighbors for people that were with me last year. So we already have this camaraderie. There's no like strange alchemy. It's like, oh, we're friends and everything. And I was busy doing my thing. My table was like a full table full of prints up to thing, and I couldn't really pay attention to what's going on. But then I realized my phone kept going off with Discord chats, and I'm like, what's happening? So I kind of nudged the people on my left going, what's going on? And then I got word, there's an AI artist in here that's infiltrated. And I'm like, who am I punching? like I was fists up ready going, who are we hunting down? Because I'm like for me, it's literally like, who? I did not know. I wouldn't have said this out loud. They were next to me.
Oh.
So the table next to us was sharing a table with, I guess it was like 2 tattoo artists that came last year. And I have nothing against them, but I didn't realize what was going on. So
Richard,
I'm just...
you know what's the irony?
Yeah, very much so.
The irony is, with animated, Shockwave pretended to have Wasp as the double spy, so it appears as that just...
Oh, yeah, I was totally Bumblebee, not knowing that Shockwave Longarm was right next to me. Like, that's how it felt. So it wasn't until, like, oblivious me, where I think I might have gone for a washroom break or, like, a quick bite, that the people beside us were gone. And then the person who was sharing the table got to have the whole table. And then I was asking, I was like, what happened? And they're like, they're the ones that were selling the art. And I'm like, holy crap.
Did they get ran out of there?
Yeah, they got kicked out. I heard they got kicked out.
The reason why they got kicked out wasn't just, I don't think it was the AI art because it was reported. So they went to the staff and the staff they said it was fine. But the one that drew the line was apparently they were selling other people's art.
Okay, this is story. I'm sorry to cut you off, but what
No, it's
happened
not-
was
it's not allowed to spill other
somebody
people's
made
art.
some AI art. So initially, somebody made AI art, and the guy who got kicked out stole the AI produced art and tried to sell that as their own
Yes.
TFCon.
It was
like a
classic
double-
plagiarism,
like a
but
double
without
plagiarism.
you typing the words. So
Wow.
That's like that's a new degree of laziness.
yes.
That is. Wow.
And the thing that I guess set people off was because the artwork that you guys were showing was next to, I guess, the Pretenders, for a better term. And apparently I gave it away without like doing anything, because it's like, here's my table of my stuff, and then beep beep, like big flashing red light next to us. And I'm like, I wish I knew, but I like, how was it gonna, like, I'm not gonna like get up to them and get up in their face. But it's just such an odd thing to think of. Like, I know TFCon is kind of a buy your table and then you have your own reign to it type situation. Well, whether if you go to Fan Expo, there's like applicants and an interview and like a type of like process to it. So I don't know if, because they were there last year. So that's how I got the invite pretty quickly, where it's like, oh, you tabled with us last year. Would you like to book your table already for TFCon next year? And I was like, let's see how much it is. Oh, okay, that's not bad. It's about the same price. I booked the table, then you get it. So these people probably had the same idea, and then they were sharing it with someone else. So they're like, okay, split table costs whatever. And then all of a sudden, word got out that they started doing something shady, and I was like, oh no. And everyone was going to my table going, like, they were like kind of like going, well, I think your art gave it away because it was right next to the people trying to be artists. And then you were here and you're drawing, so we know you're doing it. Like, it was really like, it's such a weird experience, like for
This is
TF
just a
Toronto.
basic shuttle attack. The Decepticons infiltrated the Autobot base without unsanctioned access.
And we had a hot rod that started, you know, lighting their things just
Oh,
to
you're kidding
figure it out. So we had someone that was there to at least go like tell the organizers and whatnot, because we're right next to registration. That wasn't so smart to like pull something like that. So
Smart
the
in the
fact
first
that
place to try and
AI
sell
art
it.
was one thing, but then selling other people's AI art was kind of the line that got crossed. That's kind of the That's kind of the
Wow.
thing that I was like, okay. That was Saturday. This is Saturday, like before 5. So I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Wow. Now, as Professor D was saying, important for Richard, and then ... which I knew more was coming up. Which he has a cool point here. He says, today, or to you, Rick, he says, today you made me realize why it was dumb of me to bring all those Transformers to sell when I should have brought some pens and papers. If you can draw this in the right way to do TFCon. And so then he says, so guys, next year I'll be running the Children of Primus live stream base from the artist side, while Anthony holds down the dealer station table side, and also asks Impactor if you're coming.
We have a girl.
I don't
at
know.
our
I
local
don't know if
con
I'm
that-
going to Canada.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a big commitment.
Yeah. And Magnus, what were you saying?
We have a girl that comes to our convention here locally, and she does a thing where she just writes your name, and then she puts whatever picture you want, like you're looking through your name and seeing that picture. And I've got one of her pieces here on the wall. And it's just a very simple thing.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's
And I
lovely.
try and get a piece from her every year. She wasn't there this year. From what I understand, her mother had COVID, and so she wasn't taking a chance on it. But she does a lot of really good. This is just something I had her do fast because it was closing and I hadn't seen her before. But yeah, I go back to her booth every year now. And this was $10.
That's good.
Right.
You know, and it took her, it was like 3 minutes at the most.
Wow.
And she had to look up.
Jeez.
She had to look up the symbols. She had no idea what Autobot Decepticon symbols were.
Oh, really?
Holy cow.
Wow.
And she's like this one, and this one. I was like, yeah. She went, okay, yeah, go walk around. Give me 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I was like 2 booths down, and she come walking up behind me. And she's like, "Here you go."
That's always nice though. Like I love supporting the local artists that I can. Like the other day here in Newmarket, which is where I'm from, the comic book shop had a drawing kind of session with I don't know if you guys are familiar with Group of Seven Comics, but it's two people that have done like a comic book series about like Canadian artists that are kind of like, I guess, secret soldiers or something. Like, I haven't fully read it, but I got into contact with the illustrator and he was hosting a sketchbook session. And yesterday we got to draw Batman for 3 hours. So like for me, I always try my best. Like if they're coming local, if I'm able to go, like I'll support them in a way, whether it be buy a new graphic novel or like a print or something. And it's just very fun to have those types of interactions. It's also the reason why I did TFCon 2 the last couple of years is because it's my way to network without it feeling like networking. It's a place that I feel comfortable with people that I enjoy, and we all enjoy the same things. So giving my art now to voice actors, it's like, here's my business card, here's my thing. Let me know if you're ever interested. And like, I'd be more than willing to help you guys, because not that they need my help, but if it's like you need I always try to do like portrait style like art pieces, because drawing the whole body is kind of hard at times. But doing stuff like this where it's like, it's like a autograph kind of like paper, like that was the idea for most of the G1 characters. It's like these are the headshots that they give to their fans if they want an autograph.
So Professor D says, "Oh, and Rick also apologizing."
Star screen, by the way.
And apologize for missing your table like so many others this past year. Catch you live next year. Eagle says, "Oh wow, that's pretty art gangster styles at TFCon." Wow.
I even though it didn't actually go down this way, I like the idea that this guy was just like quickly unpersoned.
And Professor D says, "Yeah, Magnus, totally making my point with the drawing equal printing, with the drawing equals printing money if you're smart and know how to connect with people."
Well, one of our local guys goes in there and he does the little things like you see at like carnivals and stuff, where he does a quick sketch of a couple. And he's like, "If y'all want to sit down, I'll finish this." Like that. And he does it to the people that are walking through the artist booth in cosplay. Like that. And I don't know what he charges, but they say that he's the biggest money banker at our convention in the artist alley. That he always has somebody sitting there.
And you talk about OMG Con?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, OMG Con. Yeah, and he's just drawing people that are there. Now, me, I do not have that talent. I can paint a figure. I can draw something out, but I can draw. But I can't draw fast.
I know there are people that take commissions for Transformers figures. Like that's a thing. Like
remember.
Oh yeah.
Also, Professor D says, "Rick, my mom watching beside me was saying a standout feature of your art is the composition. What stood out to me at first was the great use of color."
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, in school they kind of beat that down on you for a couple semesters. So composition is definitely one of the things that takes probably either it's the quickest or the longest thing for me, because when you're coming up with a sketch or an idea, you either commit to it right away quickly or you change everything if you're trying to figure out how it's supposed to go. And thanks to going to art school for a couple of years, they've taught you the skills needed that's required to, okay, have a visual eye. What works in attracting that? How do you add, like for me, coloring and everything digitally is a lot easier because you don't have to worry about ink or smudges or anything like that. So when it comes to like adding color, it's just kind of cheating with the color drop tool, but you're also able to change certain aspects. Like you don't have to have the color that way just because it was that way in the cell animated stuff. You can actually change it and make it different. Or, oh, the cell shading was this way, but I kind of want to try a different approach and do it like if it's G1, but like with Guido Guidi's like inking style. How does that look? So it's like, for me, I'm always trying to get inspiration from other Transformer artists, from other comic book artists. Like for me, like I didn't read much comics growing up, but I did find good ones at like a discount shop in Toronto, and I was able to get like my first Spider-Man comics and whatnot. And as I grew older, I knew the names of Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, John Buscema. Like those Marvel artists are what got me into, oh, there is a career in this type of stuff. Those are the names that kept circulating. And for Transformers, I've learned that there's so many Filipino Transformer artists or people that were in the franchise without me knowing until like this year for some reason. So Flo O'Derry, who's the original character designer for G1, is Filipino. Don Allen Figueroa, who did like Dreamwave, IDW, Filipino. There's a couple like local Filipino artists that go to TFCon. Marvin Mariano, who's a tattoo artist. Yeah. James Reyes, he's also like he's the box office artist on YouTube. Like they were my first kind of like I met Marvin at my first TFCon and he came by my table. So I was like, oh hi, I don't know if you remember me. And he bought like 2 mini I don't know if you guys know that stupid keychain Transformer toy back in like a couple years ago where it's like you pull the Autobot Decepticon insignia and it turns into a mini robot or tiny tank. He bought mine because I was like, I don't know what to do with them anymore. I just had them on the table for like shits and giggles, to be honest. And he's like, oh, what are these? I've never had these before. And then I got to talk to him and tell him, you're the main reason why I'm here. I got to meet you with my dad and figure out, there is room for just like stuff for people like us to do this. So it was like it's very like full circle moment to have those types of experiences. And then on top of that, like I said, Earthspark has a lot of Filipino representation that makes me just scream. And my mom's like, why? And I'm like, we're on TV in a Transformers show, and I'm kind of having like a panic attack of excitement because you don't see it often, especially in Western media. So for me, like my main goal for me isn't just like drawing like fan art. Like that's kind of like my thing that is kind of helping with like getting noticed and getting people to know what I do. But to get like your own kind of personalized story with your own culture and background, because I am born here, so I didn't immigrate from the Philippines, so I'm a second gen born here, but I have the pride of someone that was born back home for who and what a Filipino is. So to get stuff like that and to have it like infuse into my stuff, like that's been everyone's like main kind of comment with my stuff, whether it be my stuff looks like a Saturday morning cartoon, which is the biggest compliment that I could get from my peers when I was in school, including my teachers. And then on top of that, add a bit of my own personal experience or try to understand where I come from through characters I'm creating. That's just the whole like thing of like storytelling and doing your own thing. So like for me to have those kind of touchstones and then it be inspiration to me as someone who was 13 at the time and was like, I don't know what I want to do yet for a career or was trying to figure it out. And for them to like be such a part of it without you knowing, like these are just names that you see on credits. Like that's like the main goal for me. It's like Marvel is dev department and then there's your name. Like that's it. Like if you're part of something like that, like that's the joke that me and my family have when we go see movies, like for animated films or whatever. But I'm like, that's the main goal. If you're able to do something for something you love. And like right now, I don't know if you guys know Bobby Rubio, but he's like one of the Pixar kind of not heads, but he is an animator. He also worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he's working on Transformers 1 that's coming out later this year. So to have more touchstones for me to be like Filipino just makes me so happy that it's like I can be that there's a goal end game there. So
nice.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. So I know it's 9:56, so I know we're going to be wrapping up soon. So I know there's still a bunch more questions coming in. RJ Eagle says, but in the same token, and I know this is going back a couple conversations ago. He says, but in the same token, I'm sure there are vendors selling knockoffs as real authentic G1 Transformers. I wonder if this sort of stuff is policed at TFCon. I guess the same goes for the art as well.
That's interesting because like we were selling a few KOs, but we were upfront about the fact that they were KOs and they were priced accordingly.
Well, that's the difference.
That's the difference.
OMG,
when you're honest about it,
a guy that was selling the Gundams.
Yeah.
Everything. He had all these Gundams up there in boxes, and then when people would buy them, he's like, "This is the one I've got on display. Let's walk out to my van and I'll get you one." And then
Got
go
it.
out to his van, and he'd hand them one in a bag.
Oof. Slimy.
And a few of the people just went on with it. And then one guy was like, "Dude, if it's a bag, that's not it. It comes in a box." He's like, "No, I got these a little bit cheaper because they were the boxes were damaged. It's the same one."
Wow.
And yeah, as soon as they got reported, he was out.
Wow.
I'm like, what's the point of bootlegging Gundams? Because Gundams are cheap as hell. Like, they don't cost a lot of money to begin with.
Talk about Hobby Lobby, because they sell the giant Gundams for like $134.
Oh,
I
those
thought
are like the
Gundams
big
were-
ones.
Yeah, I thought Gundams were typically a little bit overpriced in the West. Like if you're in Japan, they're relatively inexpensive, but like the shipping import.
These Gundams are huge, and I mean huge. These guys from my table here reach maybe about here.
Yeah, those are the larger ones.
Yeah.
He's probably talking about the master grade kits.
Yeah, it's all about the grades. Like, how many pieces and how detailed they are.
That's true. I said they were cheap as hell, but when I was having my little Gundam phase, I was just getting like the basic kits, and they were all fairly old at that. So I was like, oh, these don't cost a lot of money.
I picked up an original Gundam set in Japan for 350 yen, which is about $3.50.
Wow.
And that was at the Gundam store. Like that was the retail price of it. So
Yeah.
Understandably, some of them can be cheap.
They did sell, and if I ever saw one, I'd probably get it on general principle. They sold this like new grade that was like super cheap, and they did come in bags, but they were like branded bags, and they would make like reaction figure scaled Gundams. I want to get one of those just on general principle.
I know a few places that might be selling those.
I got a stupid question since you guys know your Gundams. When I went to, one of the big conventions I went to last year, they had the Gundam store there where like you had literally like it was walled off. It had one exit and entrance, and there was a line of people on the outside to get into this thing, right?
Like Black Friday line?
Yeah, kind of. People would buy the Gundam kits, and then they had tables set up outside to where they could go and just build them right then and there. I'm thinking, like, don't those require, like, paints and special tools to, just like a car model kit? Wouldn't that require, like, glue and stuff like that to build? I don't know. I guess I don't know anything about them because it didn't make any sense. These guys are just putting together these figures without doing anything special to them.
I mean, not necessarily. The few I built, I didn't need. Yeah.
It depends on the kit. A lot of them are already colored.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true. Or
they're
the pieces
pre-painted.
are
You just got to
colored
put them
when you
together.
build them.
Right.
Well, the way I see it is Bandai makes it accessible for all levels. Like there is the easier ones, but the ones with the more pieces, like you can get away with just putting it together without any additional glue, paint, or panel lining. But you can really just go to town with the customizing and the extra group. I think it's groupage is the name, where you like add like bits and pieces all over.
Yeah.
I think it might be.
It's funny because I have Gundam markers, which are the official things you paint them with, but I've never used them on a Gundam. I just use them on Transformers if I want to add some color.
I've never even owned a Gundam marker.
Oh, they're really handy. I really recommend them. They're because I'm not a customizer guy at all, so they're like idiot proof when it comes to
Well, you're
putting stuff
talking
on.
to the king of customizing.
Yeah, and they even sell eraser markers in the kit. So if you mess up, you just use that, and nice and easy.
Well, next week you'll see an article where Fear of Courage gets arrested for using Gundam markers on Transformers.
Yeah, on non-Gundam products.
The RJ Eagle's saying over to Magnus, that's pretty suspicious, Magnus. And Professor D says, I'm going to hang out at fly women's hair salons and draw their portraits while they're getting their... Wait, no, I just realized I'm going to open the fly women's hair salon.
Draw me like your French girls.
Godspeed.
I don't get the memo. Also, Spin.
Yes.
I've recently done some stop motions. May I share them if I'm at all able to?
Within the next 5 minutes, because we're going to be rounding up for the evening, and then everyone will get to showcase what they have coming up for the week. So again, over to Richard. Richard, or do you prefer Rick?
I prefer Richard. Rick is the kind of the business So for me, Richard is what I've gone by all my life. Rick's kind of an homage to my grandfather because I actually am named after him. So he's Ricardo, I'm Richard. It's the the thing. So when I'm
Right.
coming up with like the business name, Rick kind of, I'd never been called it. I've been called many other things, but Rick never was one of those nicknames I was given as a kid. So I was like, I'll stick with this, and it seems to be going so far. Like most of the voice actors that I've met actually call me by that. So anytime if I get like a DM randomly from like Paul Eiding, or I'm trying to contact like David K because he bought Prince off me last year, like they call me Rick, and it's kind of like special towards like the actors that I meet because that's how they know me because that's the business card. So it's kind of my little like, oh, okay, they know me by business name. That's kind of nice. That's my own little takeaway from those. So
That's awesome.
Cool. That is awesome. So again, so before we're going to be wrapping up for the evening. So where can people find you if they want to commission you or buy any of your art?
Again.
So right now I'm still working on my website. So buying art prints from TFCon is kind of the only way to get the prints. So if I'm ever I'll always post where I'm doing shows if you're local in Canada, so that if people want to go by. For commissions, if you want to either email me at rickrayillustrations@gmail or at the Rick Ray Illustrations Instagram page or DM on Twitter, because I'm on for all those. So either you have a way to contact me and you're interested either in Transformer prints, Marvel, or anything, just let me know, and I'm pretty sure I can work out something. So yeah, that, like, for me, art is the main objective, and hopefully it will be the career in the near future, in the 5-year plan, hopefully. But we'll see how things go, because as the world goes on, life changes, and things kind of get moved to for survival of the fittest, it would seem. So.
I feel like that should be a Decepticon voice line for somebody like Starscream or Megatron.
That is true. Over to Toy Work, or actually, no, Decepticitty, you were about to say something.
Isn't that from the movie when they kicked them out of the shuttle? Maybe not. Maybe.
Yeah,
not.
I think so. I think it's like one of the Constructicons.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest.
Seems like a lot.
Is from the movie. Over to Toy Work, what do you have coming up for this week?
I'll make it short and sweet. Nothing. I'm on a big job this week, and I can't do anything for either channel. Just the downside of still having to work for a living. So help me not work for a living and subscribe to Cruisers Motorsports and Toy Work Finish Reviews.
There you go. Mr. Magnus, what do you have coming up for the week?
Not a whole lot, but I did put a link in the private chat that Anthony is going to lose his shit over.
Ooh, that just got his
Share that on the, can I share it on the screen?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
New Age. Yeah. I like that you're attuned to the specific kind of weirdness that I enjoy.
Oh, this is on the show's e-store.
Yeah.
I've been trying to see if I can buy some stuff from these guys. I'm right now looking at the Red Gladiator and their Optimus.
Yeah, I have exactly one other New Age thing, and that's their tiny little hubcaps, so I can attest that they are, again, also...
He's a Captain Planet thing.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
For a second, I thought this was like a Joker crossover with Starscream for a sec.
Now, so what this guy is he's based on one of the weirdest toys ever, officially. In the 90s, they did an Action Master version of Thundercracker, so like a non-transforming one. It only came out in Europe. It didn't make it to America, and for some reason, these were the colors they went with.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no, that's real. And they did a BotCon figure later on that was a repaint of the classic Seeker, like homaging those colors, and Shozi's picking it up. So yeah, there was an official
is that
Transformer
Megatron
that looked
gun?
like that. Probably.
Oh, that is.
Look at that fluorescent
wow.
Megatron.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that they're extrapolating that.
I think I might just paint that the black and I think I might just remove that red and turn to black.
Which I know there's been that whole debate, which we won't get into in terms of the reissue of Megatron and it being the tank instead of the gun. Which the internet is falling apart about this.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that is still boggling. But I'm really wondering
I'm
what
so
are
tired
they
of
gonna
hearing
do?
about that.
I think it'd be a shell shocker if they actually did do the gun.
Well,
Or maybe made a secret form, basically like how Bumblebee movie Megatron can turn into the technically the gun. Maybe they might try and do that.
Fear Solution is my
Kitty,
favorite.
Kitty
my
found the
opinion.
original one.
The artillery thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
turret.
Why have they not done that? It seems
A cannon or turret? Like it seems
Yeah.
evident. Galvatron's a cannon. Megatron should be a cannon.
Yeah.
There's the original
Is
one.
this the?
Yeah.
Is
That's
this
the
ori-
original.
Wow.
That's what they're homaging.
I think they did a good job remaking it because the original toy does not look good.
Yeah, nobody knows why they did this. Most of the other Action Masters look like who they're supposed to look like Megatron, Starscream. They're still in their usual colors. But for Thundercracker, they were just like, let's do this for some reason.
I don't know.
This is the G2 reissue, like Mirage.
Well, this was before G2.
Yeah, way before G2. Well, not way before, but well before.
Yeah, this one's giving me the Adam West Batmobile if it transformed vibes.
Yeah. So the thing they did with Action Masters, of course, was they didn't transform, but they give them transforming vehicles. So he had that little sled that could change into his armor. And when they made the transforming one for BotCon and for New Age, you can see they sort of like homaged the sled a little bit with his wings. Like, they have a picture there, like that's what he's supposed to look like.
Wow, that's what's a hobgoblin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, why is there Combined Wars Thundercracker in the bottom of the pictures?
I think it's a listicle. That's all.
Yeah.
Of like best Thundercrackers or something.
Cool. No.
Oh no.
RJ Eagle says, if Studio Series Megatron is painted in those colors as a gun, we won't have an issue.
They tried that. Remember there were plans to in the early 2000s when they did the original commemorative series to do a Megatron in blue and orange. Proto Man's shown photos of it in the past. They wound up not going with it because they were like, A, we're not sure if even this is enough, and also B, it just doesn't look good. We're just gonna not release him.
Yeah, we're just gonna garbage this like the Unicron toy that we planned so long ago.
Hey, I got this.
I brought that up just for you on that one.
Yeah. Hey, they made this. People are saying, and I'm one of them. If they do a modern Megatron in the colors of that weird abandoned safety Megatron, I'd get that too. Because again, it's the kind of weirdness I enjoy.
I'm with you there, Fear Courage.
Over to SETTOM Bockards, what do you have coming up for the week?
Let's see. Well, I've been sharing it on the Facebook page and the Instagram. Been doing better about shooting, photography or video, and then post-processing it the day of, instead of just having it sit on my phone or camera or laptop for days, weeks, months, or more. So hopefully I'll keep that going. I've been so focused on my questionably named Instagram side of things, I hadn't been focusing on the artist account. But I think I saw some project I had, clay project I had saw that I painted the, I can't think of what it's called. Like with clay when you, the glazes. And I saw that in person post-firing, so I need to post pictures of that. Because I hadn't seen it post-firing, and it looks like the colors are a lot deeper post-firing than they are, because it's basically like if you ever took like a marker to like a piece of like wood, and it's like very dry color. It's like it's a difference between like wet rich color and dried out faded color. So, and then there's some just photos I've been sitting on. I've been meaning to collage, because every so often I'll go to some spots like graffiti or nature and whatever, and then collage the stuff together periodically before it gets painted over or dies if it's a plant that I need to do stuff with.
Cool. And then over to Deceptikitty. And actually, let me add this image to this.
Yes, this is actually something I want to say. There's a meme of this actually for the shuttle attack scene, and Starscream says it's Nerf or nothing.
Yeah, well, that's from 2006. That's the last time they made a gun Megatron.
And they reissued him in the normal colors, if I'm correct, too. His
Yeah,
black
but
and gray.
only in Japan, though. In America, not only did he have to be a fancy Nerf gun, but he had to be those colors.
Right.
Still, people liked this one. They made it work for him. They leaned into it in his robot mode and everything.
But there's a full-on meme with that Megatron toy where the shuttle attack happens and Starscream says Nerf or nothing and then shoots Brawn and the Nerf dart just bounces off of him.
That is good.
Now, Decepticitty, what do you have coming up for the week?
I just read RJ's comment about how he loves that Super 7, Unicron. Forget HasLab. Yo, what if they made the G1 Unicron instead of the HasLab? Like, I would have been all over that.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
we
have the giant HasLab that Mr. Magnus has in his background.
Yeah, but it's not this one.
It's not that one.
I know. Are they going to upscale that?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I'd go for that because it would probably be really, really expensive. I would buy a transforming version of this that was slightly bigger. I don't know if I'd go for like the original, nearly Fort Max sized thing if they ever did do that.
It's not as big as you may think. I think it's like.
Yeah, it's a little shorter than Fort Max. There's a photo of it next to one from an early BotCon, so it's not Fort Max height, but it's up there.
Okay, is it? Okay. It's not that big. I feel already. So this week I have some big changes happening. I just had like some recent change of events in my life, and things seem like they're changing, and someone told me that I should accept change and to embrace it. It was Vangelis. He was saying that on a live stream. And I'm going to embrace the change and give a shout out to Vangelis for his positive sentiments. And we'll see where things go. I'm still on track with the Deceptikitty website and the Mystery of Convoy game, which that demo is going to be released very soon. But I got some big changes happening. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure what to think of it, but I guess I'll update next week.
Okay,
sounds
cool.
Ominous but hopeful.
It is, changes. It's one of those things that you just gotta face. Ominous,
like ominous.
Ominous.
And Impactor, what do you have coming up for the week before we sign off for the night?
For me, this week, I think what's happening for me is, so this is my final week. Our pool will be sadly closing on Wednesday. That will be their last day that's open, so I will be completely bored for the next few weeks of the summer that is left. So I'll be trying to do more stop motions. Transformers Prime Episode 1 will be a start work in progress, and that's also what I'd like to show you guys, if I can at all, the work in progress that I have for the scene. But I'll be recreating the entire episode, which is gonna take me a while. I recreated the entire episode once, but deleted it because it was so old, and I only used this cliff jumper for the scene for the entire stop motion.
So now that you have the new one,
So I have to take my chances. And I've been already doing stop motion tests with everybody. The only person who I haven't messed that much around with is Tarn, because I want to leave him stiff. And believe it or not, he is stiff.
Nobody say anything. Anyway.
Don't.
It's too easy. Okay, and before we wrap up for tonight, Fear or Courage, what do you have coming up for the week?
Well, I took the last photos at the start of the stream for one of the two TFCon exclusives I got here, Clutch, the Armada Optimus retooled into Clench, another guy from that same weird and wild period of European G1 that gave us Action Master Thundercracker, tying it into what we were talking about. I still have to write the dang thing, but I took the photos already, which is the part that always takes me longer. So by Friday, this will be up on our website. It's funny because it's not going to be easy to get a TFCon exclusive after the convention's done, but I'm going to write the review anyway. So you can look forward to that. And beyond that, I don't know. The table in front of me is just full of robots that are literally a pile to review. So
I'm with you there. Also, Fear Courage, I have just like an abundance of stuff around me.
An abundance of things.
Always. And Again, I thank you guys for coming in and hanging out for the evening. Richard, especially you, I thank you for taking the time to hang out with us, showing us all your artwork. And I thank everyone in the comments, and check out everyone. I'm going to include everyone in the description. So like the channel, like everyone's channel, social profiles, and as we always say at the end of every stream, to all are one.
Till all
are one.
You want the horns? You got them.